Sorry. So what I'm saying is, Thomas throw me off by. So the point is, we've had GIS systems for a long time. They were all focused on actual geo points, which is latitude and longitude with high precision.
Like Google Latitude.
No, well, to some extent like Google Latitude, but more like, if you talk, it's like, well, the only data structure we need is latitude and longitude, because that represents everything anyone cares about, because that can specify location and altitude precision. And actually, if you're a human being, you'd much rather say Fourth and King or something like that.
The interesting thing is that has become less relevant even in the GIS space, where and GIS is geographic information systems, as you said, and point data on the incoming is very important. Knowing exactly where something happened is better for the machine to understand than anything else. And so having that at full accuracy and knowing the exact coordinate is great. On the outgoing, that's when it matters more that it could be fuzzy. So, for example, we aggregate tons of data sets and are just constantly looking at interesting data. One of the most interesting things that I found is just the fact that the government would put out this kind of data. But one of the data sets that we randomly crawled was the mating locations of crocodiles in southern Florida. And as interesting as that sounds, that was a real data set. And it's a real data set that exists in the U.S. I'm sure the government data, their data, geodata.gov. And the interesting thing is that even though all of those points were specifically plotted out, only the aggregate of all of those points mattered at the end of the day. So being able to say, here is a shapefile, here is the generalized area of all of those points, spit that out, that's what matters. And in this case, if I'm taking a photograph in Soma of Twitter's headquarters or something like that, then on the incoming, that point matters. On the outgoing, if I want to look at all the photos in Soma, then that's probably going to be much more important than just looking at all the photos of the Twitter headquarters.
Right. Yes, so there's a few things there, I think. Like one of them is the geocoding of stuff. So like when you write a Twitter message and it's set to a point, what does that matter? Is that useful? To some extent it's useful. More useful is I want to see all the messages people are saying about Barack Obama in Soma. That's actually a really nice, interesting kind of search, which we're going to be able to see. Twitter's probably going to be doing that within 6 months. It seems likely. And that means you have to have this understanding of place. And the distinction is like there's physical space, which is like long-range coordinates, you're here at that point, and there's place, I'm in the financial district of San Francisco, I'm in this venue, I'm in this bar, right? So with Firing, we started off a lot with space. People updated their location, and as they walked around the world, and then other people were able to see where they were. It's actually it doesn't have any, one of the things that's really interesting about it doesn't tell you what someone's doing. When someone posts something to Foursquare, it indicates, look, I'm at this place, does anyone want to join me? It's basically a statement of intent. Whereas if you get to that content as you wander around the place, it's not so much. Or in Cal's case, it's I want to get lots of points. In your case, it's I want 3,000 people to know where I am.
I want to meet them at the bar.
You want to meet 3,000 people at the bar?
Actually.
The traveling party.
So not free beer, right?
Yeah. So the specifics here about place is incredibly important for geotagging things and saying this is being able to process that later, but you turn that into space. You turn space into place to make it understandable to humans.
Right, and that's exactly what has helped these services take off as well. It's like Looped was around for a while, but no one was really using it as much as they used Foursquare or Geo-Local and stuff, because it's really transferred the idea of these little pinpoints into actual locations that people can interpret what they are.
The beautiful thing Flickr did, which was that they took the tags that people tag photographs with and mixed that with the geopoints. They said, here's a tag for Route 66. Here's a tag for Soma. Oh, look, it's slightly bigger than the estate I think it is.
And the other thing about this, which is really important, is that you have to get the point, you have to get the space thing to work out what the place is. In quite a lot of these times, the Foursquare, the brilliance of Foursquare over Dodgeball is that I pull out Foursquare, I press a button, it says here are nearby places. It does that by working out where you are with satellites, amazing magical satellites in the sky that tell you exactly where you are, and then you can choose from a small list rather than do a search for between 10,000 places.
But the photography example is interesting. If I'm taking a picture of Twitter's headquarters, I could be taking that from space with a satellite, from Twin Peaks with a long lens, from across the street, and all those locations don't really matter. It's what I'm aiming at that matters, especially on the recall. I'm looking for pictures of Twitter's headquarters. I don't care where they were shot from. I care where the point is that I'm looking for and who was aiming that.
Speaking of that specifically, there was a camera that Sony debuted at CES that is, first off, whenever you take a picture, it stores everything. It stores the focal length, it stores the aperture, it stores whether or not the flash went off, all those kind of things. Sony showed off a camera that has GPS and compass built into it, so that whenever it stores all that other data, now it's storing specifically where that photo was taken, where it was pointing at, and how far that object was away. And speaking to that point exactly, I completely agree. I think there are 2 points of data that come out of a photograph, where it was taken and what the subject was. And you could completely argue either way as to what part of that is more important, but at the end of the day, it's just data.
One thing that I was hoping to talk about is how do we get people to share their physical location? I was watching the Haiti earthquake in live time as people were reporting it. And the first 10 people who said, I'm feeling an earthquake or the building's falling down, whatever they were, I have 10 people who actually tweeted from Haiti that they were in the earthquake. 2 of them had any location data that I could find. That in their bio they had said, oh, I'm in Haiti, or in their, I didn't find anybody who had turned on the geolocation features of Twitter like I have.
Right, well, that's opt-in versus opt-out. And I mean,
Right.
we're definitely not at a location, or at the point, the consumer, from a consumer standpoint, where we're going to be ready for a completely opt-out thing. Just imagine what happened with Facebook. Every time they make a little change, that users get force-fed, everyone goes up in arms. Imagine if Twitter had made their location thing opt-out. I mean, there would have been mass exodus from it. And, eventually I think that the truth is, a year from now, people wouldn't have cared about it that much, but it's just like everyone would have freaked out, and we're just not there yet.
To that, I mean, this is again what we were saying earlier. Like, people don't tend to, opt into things that creep them out. And that's actually kind of good, right? That's like that indicates some of the protections. Human sanity semi-prevails.
Especially if you're not getting anything in return. And
Yeah.
on Twitter, you're not getting anything in return for sharing your data.
Yet, and I think there's 2 bits for Twitter in particular. One of them is you have to find something that captures your location and send it up, and the second bit is you can choose whether to expose it, to allow it to go out. So,
Tweety, you have to turn on twice, by the way.
Yeah, how many people here would stop using Twitter if you opted in automatically to location sharing? Yeah.
Would you
I
stop?
I think Twitter, well, I think Twitter's already its own, whatever. But, skeptical there too. Still use it, skeptical.
well, okay,
The point is, but if
I
you
think
send a
that-
photograph from your phone to Flickr, you've opted in. Because your phone
Yeah.
No, well,
No, you haven't.
well, actually, that's interesting. So quite a lot of the phones
Look,
automatically
geotagging photos is awesome, okay? It is a great feature. It is useful in so many different ways. There's no question that that is a useful feature. It's now about what the user who has a geotag photo chooses to do, right? Do you upload to Flickr in public all your photos? Do you do some, Facebook, whatever? Like, that is, in my eyes, actually, geotagging photos is the quintessential example of location services done perfectly, because it creates data that can be used in so many.
Okay, so last week, if you were to taken a picture of your house and put it on Flickr with the tag home, and that was on public, all of a sudden somebody can look at a geotag photo and know where your home is. And so regardless if it's past, present, or future. Exactly my point. I mean, it's not that it's any more secure, it's any more better, any more whatever. It's just that it's more data, and yes, it's a perfect example of something that is done right. It provides context around where a picture was taken, and I think that exactly that argument can be used for where I'm standing. And it's like, if that context can be used to help me understand what restaurants I should be going to, what friends I should be connecting with, what things I should be doing in my to-do app, what music I should be listening to based on what concerts are going to be near me. The same exact argument stands on all of those fronts, because it's just data. It's just
Do you use
context. I don't. That's pretty
Everybody knows what Blippy is? Blippy shares your credit card information to the public automatically.
Your purchases.
Purchases. Matt, why don't you use it? What's wrong? You're already telling people where you are. Who cares? It's just stuff you bought. Just stuff you bought.
I spend my money on crap. Nobody
So
wants to know
what?
my way.
Nobody wants to know what you're eating for lunch. No one wants to know all these pictures of you. So what's the difference?